All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our reopening plan. I'm Amanda Matthews, and today I am here with my leadership team and Brenda Klein. They are my support staff here, and we are going to go through the reopening plan for St. Joseph Parish School. Before we start the plan, I just want to say thank you to Chris Baylor, who's doing our videotaping right now, and an incredible thank you to my leadership team back here who has spent their entire summer making this plan a possibility for us. We have done research and worked collaboratively with the Washington Ozaukee Health Department to bring this plan to you, and I would like to go through it with you. So we are going to start with a prayer. This prayer is titled "Nothing is Impossible with God," and it comes from one of the documents we use to make our plan called Leading with Hope. We begin in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Can worrying about anything add a moment to life? If God can take care of the birds of the sky and the plants of the field, surely God will take care of me. Given the present challenges we face, can worrying about this add a moment of life? Yet I continue to worry. Lord, forgive my weakness when I worry, for this challenges my trust in you. Good and gracious God, help me to remember that, like the birds of the sky and the grass of the field, that you will take care of me. Help me to recklessly surrender myself to you and boldly trust in your everlasting care. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So we're going to go through the plan tonight, and this is the agenda for this evening. I will go through the plan slide by slide. Thank you for those who already submitted questions to our Google form. I've taken those questions. I'm going to incorporate your answers into the presentation as I go through it. You may also ask questions via the chat, and those questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. So let's start. So we have the table of contents, which tells all the things that we are going to go through this evening. And then we have an introduction and a prayer. The first slide I'd like to talk about is our St. Joseph Parish School reopening commitments. So we as a staff are committed to safety, number one. So we're committed to providing your students a healthy and safe learning environment. And our plans reflect guidance from the Archdiocese of Milwaukee, Washington Ozaukee Health Department, State of Wisconsin Department of Health Services, the CDC, Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, and worldwide best practices. We spent all summer working with these documents to make this plan for you. We're also committed to our mission to grow our students academically, spiritually, and emotionally, to teach, learn, lead, and serve as the hands of Christ. In addition, we are in a pandemic, so flexibility is key. We are committed to flexibility, and we ask all our families to be flexible with us, be patient, and know that things can change at any time. We've been living through this for quite some time now, and we are well aware of a lot of changes that will occur. So bear with us this school year as we work through all of these changes. But rest assured, we have your students, all of our students, in our mind and in our hearts and in our prayers as we unroll our reopening plan. So as a school, looking at the survey results indicated that 86% of our families want face-to-face instruction. However, there were some that really wanted virtual instruction. So as a staff, we've decided that we are going to offer both choices. So face-to-face instruction, which is the traditional format, or a virtual option. So a virtual option for grades 1 through 8 would mean that the students would be on camera in class. We would see their faces from home through a webcam, and the teacher and the students can interact with your child face-to-face in grades 1 through 8. Early childhood being as it's for younger kids, and we can't expect them to be on devices all day long. It's not healthy for them to be able to do that. They'll have a variety of different options using Seesaw or Google Classroom and have opportunities to interact with their classmates throughout the week. So as a school, we have chosen these two options. So I want to make it very clear that there are two options, and for the sake of all of our students, these are the options we have to offer. There are other schools that are doing hybrid models, but for continuity of learning, we have chosen either face-to-face or a virtual option. And we understand as staff, as parents, that this is a hard decision, and you need to decide what is best for your family at this time. But also know that we are flexible. So if you choose face-to-face instruction and you are not feeling comfortable, we can revert you back to distance learning or virtual learning. If you choose virtual instruction, we can bring you back to face-to-face, but you need to contact me, and we will require 48 hours of transition time to be able to transition back and forth between the two. We are asking all families who choose virtual instruction to please decide by August 15th. That will give our staff time to plan for this option. And in the Google form that is attached here to the document is what you'll use to determine your choice. If you do not choose the virtual option, you do not have to fill out the form. So the next slide talks about back to distance learning. So we are in a pandemic, like we said, and it's ever changing. So we are aware, and I'm sure you're all aware, that a face-to-face option, even if you choose it, we could have to go back to distance learning at some time throughout the year. So if that does happen for one student, for a handful of students, for the entire grade, or even a whole student body, we will go back to the platform that we used last year, where students are face-to-face with their teachers with a set schedule, working through their daily lessons as we did in the spring. Same thing for K3 to K5. They will have age-appropriate virtual instruction based on their teacher and their grade level ability. We know that distance learning could occur for a short time, or it could be for a long time, and we are prepared for that. And of course, as always, you'll be notified as soon as we know or are aware that we need to revert back to distance learning. And for the sake of all involved, it is not an easy process to be transitioning back and forth between distance and face-to-face, so we need 48 hours to be able to do so. So if the whole school has to go back, we're asking 48 hours of halted learning at that time, so no instruction for those times so teachers can prepare to be able to transition back to our distance learning model. So we're asking, how are we going to do this face-to-face learning? What's it going to look like? We're going to work with student cohorts. The purpose for student cohorts is to keep other groups of students away from each other, so we can protect those groups. The less kids that people come in contact with, the less likelihood that they will contact COVID. So we are having each grade have their individual cohort, and then middle school is a cohort unto itself because of scheduling. So if a classroom K3, our goal is to keep them away from K4, K5, and such. It's not a perfect system, but it is an excellent way to help us mitigate the risk. So cleaning and sanitizing is a huge endeavor, and we have it as one of our top priorities. So we have invested in individual needlepoint air purifiers. You can read the link to learn more about them, but what they essentially do is they clean and sanitize the air. They remove all pollutants from the air 24/7. So they are running constantly, and in fact they're already running right now in the classrooms to start cleaning and purifying the air. So they grab out all the ions into the air and they basically kill them. It is an incredible investment. It is state-of-the-art, but we thought that it was imperative that we have clean air for our students. Other sanitizing and cleaning protocols, we are going to open our windows and doors when possible to increase circulation. We have also increased our daily and weekly cleaning protocols. So our custodial team, we now have a team of custodians who will clean and disinfect during the school day and after school. We've done a number of other things to kind of avoid the contact of items by multiple use items. So we have touchless flush valves in the bathrooms. Our paper towel dispensers are touchless. We've also invested in hospital grade disinfectant for all classrooms and all of our cleaning supplies, and we have made a list of specific cleaning regimen that will take place during the day and after school every evening. The CDC has recently determined that transmission through touch surfaces is very unlikely. So even though that is true, we are still working on cleaning and disinfecting as often as we can. The face-to-face transmission is the thing we're worried about the most. So we are working on cleaning and sanitizing, but the most important thing is trying to stay away from each other. Another really, really important thing is health and hygiene. So it is incredibly important that we teach our students how to wash their hands thoroughly and what techniques they should use. We are going to provide hand sanitizer. There are going to be hand sanitizing stations all over the building, at entranceways and exits. In every classroom will be hand sanitizer. We will also have multiple opportunities for students to wash their hands throughout the day. We've also created an isolation room in our health room. So we've completely gutted the health room, cleared it out, and it is designed only for students who have COVID symptoms so that we can isolate them and then get them home as quickly as possible. We are upping our signage throughout the building to help our students identify how to wash their hands, what does social distancing mean, what COVID symptoms they should be looking for, so that they are fully aware of all of those things. We're going to teach our students to sneeze into their elbow and not into their hands. We are all going to be wearing face coverings so that we can reduce our transmission. As a school, we also are going to have minimal shared supplies. So classrooms will have individual supplies. We're not going to share any food of any kind, or any equipment that is shared will be sanitized thoroughly in between touch points. We're also going to adhere to physical distancing as often and as we can, and when it is feasible. So we have removed all excess furniture from the classrooms to create open spaces. We've also removed many tables and replaced them with desks so that larger classes will have more space between their desks. We've purchased 108 transparent desk shields for students in grades 1 through 8, and they can be placed on the desks and protect the child in that area. So if they were to take their mask off during lunch, they're protected, or during snack time, they're protected. They're also portable, so they can be moved around the building. We are going to limit our locker usage so that kids are not all going to the locker at the same time, or if they go to the locker, they're going to be staggered, so every other locker or every third locker. We're asking students to bring water bottles to school, and we're going to shut off the filling station. We're going to only use the filling station, but shut off the mouth piece of it, so no mouth transmission there. We're going to be scheduling transitions throughout our building so that cohorts aren't coming in contact with each other. And we've increased our lunch and recess time slots. We used to have 2, now we're going to have 3, so that we can have cohorts in those areas but socially distanced from each other. We're going to divide our playground into zones, and the zones will be rotated so that the kids don't have to do the same thing every single day. We're also putting adhesive stickies on the floor to help students understand social distancing. In addition, there's been questions about our large classrooms and how we're going to, the classes that are large, how we're going to socially distance them. We are working with 3 to 6 feet. The American Academy of Pediatrics says 3 to 6 feet is acceptable for social distancing, so those are the numbers we're going to go by. So now that we have an executive order in place, we are going to institute face coverings for our students. So we are requiring all students to come to school with clean face masks. Right now, face shields are not allowed for students, which is part of the order. Students are required to bring at least 2 clean face masks to school and then have them washed every evening, so take them home. They can use disposable masks if they wish, but we want the students to take them home and dispose of them. We're asking all mask designs follow our code of conduct, so no inappropriate language or symbols. Face shields can be worn by educators, so if they're standing at a distance away from their students and presenting to the whole group, they can have a face shield on. We do have masks that were provided. We have 500 masks provided by the health department for student use if they were to forget them or they were to get soiled throughout the day. We are requiring all students in K4 through 8th grade to wear face masks throughout the day. K3 students, we're going to have them wear them in public spaces, hallways, bathrooms, and when directed by their teacher. We understand early childhood students, this is a difficult task to ask of our K3, K4, and K5-year-olds, but we will do what we can to help encourage them to keep their masks on, to keep their hands off their masks, to keep them throwing the masks, to keep from everything that little kids do with masks. We will help guide them in the proper wearing of masks. There's a link here if you haven't checked it out, just talking about what families need to know about face coverings. Someone asked about types of face coverings in the questions. We're allowing any type of face covering that isn't a face shield. So anything that protects your face from here on up is an acceptable face covering. The health department does not differentiate between types of face coverings. They don't recommend one over the other. So as long as we have a face covering and it adheres to our code of conduct, it is an acceptable face covering. If children are struggling to wear their masks, I know this could be a problem. We'll work with the child and we will work with the student, the parents if we need to, if we have a student who is struggling to keep their face mask on. We love your children and we want what's best for them, and right now we need to keep our face masks on when we're together. The next thing we'll talk about is symptoms of COVID. I'm sure everyone has seen all of these symptoms, but it's imperative that everybody knows these symptoms, and we are going to teach them to our students as well. So fevers, chills, coughs, shortness of breath, muscle fatigue, body aches, headaches, a new loss of taste or smell, a sore throat, congestion or runny nose, nausea or vomiting or diarrhea. So we're asking if you have any of those symptoms, your child has any of those symptoms, they stay home from school. We are going to require students to have their parents to health screen their children every single day, and at the beginning of the year when you fill out your initial paperwork, there will be a form for you to sign, for all parents to sign, signing off that yes, they will take their child's temperature every day, and they will check to see if they have any of these particular questions. If your child's been exposed or of a confirmed case of COVID-19, if they're experiencing cough, shortness of breath, difficulty breathing, or sore throat within the last 48 hours, if they have a new loss of taste or smell, if they have muscle pain or chills, if they have other illnesses, symptoms including vomiting, diarrhea, or nasal drainage or rash in the last 48 hours, we ask that you stay home. Now, a couple of questions came up about the sniffles. In just a second, I'll show you a decision tree that will go through how we decide if we're going to send students home. So this just came in today, so it's up there now, I see it. It just came in today, and it will determine when our students will go home from school. So at the top part, if our students have bluish lips, inability to wake or stay awake, new confusion, persistent pain or pressure in their chest, and shortness of breath, we are calling 911 immediately, because obviously that is a severe reaction to something. However, if they do not have that, but they have a cough, which is new or worsening, if they have a temperature of 100.4, excuse me, or above, or if they have diarrhea or vomiting, we are going to have them go home. So they will go home if they have those things. That's in the second box. If they do not have those things, however, if they have 2 or more of the symptoms in the right box, so chills, headache, muscle pain, nausea, new loss of taste or smell, shivering, sore throat, runny nose or congestion, and unusual fatigue. So just because you have a runny nose doesn't mean you need to go home, but if you have a runny nose paired with the chills, we're going to send a child home. They probably shouldn't come to they should not come to school in the morning. If they have nausea and a sore throat, they should not come to school in the morning. If they have that at school, we will be sending them home. If they have these things, let's say they have a headache and a runny nose, and we send them home from school, they need to get tested for COVID. This has been determined today by the health department. They need to be tested for COVID. If they have a negative test, as long as they have not come in contact with someone who has a positive case, they may come back to school with a negative test. So I'll say that again. If we send them home for one of these reasons, two of these symptoms or more, if they go to the doctor and they get tested and they do have a negative test, then they can come back to school unless they've been in contact with someone that has a COVID case. It's all new to everybody. We will work this system as we come in contact with this, if this does happen, or when it does happen. So we are prepared that this will happen at some point throughout the school year. Someone will have these symptoms and we'll have to address it at the time. We were working very closely with the Washington Ozaki Health Department. They have been an incredible resource for us this summer. I just actually got off a meeting with them today, and all the superintendents of Washington Ozaki County and all the principals in Archdiocese in Washington Ozaki County, and they will guide us through the process as we get positive COVID cases within our school or our school families. So if we do have a case, this is how it will be communicated. So if your student has a test positive for COVID or an immediate family member test positive for COVID, we're asking that you call the school office right away. However, the Ozaki Washington Health Department will also call us. You might know before they know, or they might know before you know. It really depends on how it works with your healthcare provider. But once we have identified a positive COVID case within our school, either by a student or a staff member, we'll be notified, and then we will notify the families via email that there's a positive COVID case in the school. I will not be naming names to protect all identification. If staff have test positive, they must notify the school immediately. And then if a positive case occurs, like I said, the whole school community will be notified via email. The class or the teacher or the student test positive will be notified. So the health department has determined today that they are going to do all the contact tracing. So for example, if a student were to get it, the health department will contact the parent of that student, and then the health department will contact and ask a series of questions who your child has been in contact with over a 48-hour period. So 48 hours prior is what they're looking for. After they determine that, they will contact us and see if we know any other positive or any other students that student has come in contact with, and they will contact those students, and those students' parents. So the health department's doing a great service to us by doing all the contact tracing and identifying and calling all the parents and families if there is a positive case. In addition, if there's a positive case in the school, in one class, the entire class is going to be asked to quarantine for 14 days. From the time of exposure, and we will work, like I said, with the health department to determine when that student can come back to school, and they'll provide us dates and things like that. We ask that, the recommendation from the health department is if there's a positive case, that the student teachers can return to school after 10 days have passed from symptoms first appeared, and at least 24 hours have passed since recovery. And recovery is defined by a resolution of fever without fever-reducing medication and improvement of symptoms. And then we're asking for a signed letter from a physician saying that your student is allowed to come back to school. We have a student quarantine and isolation guidelines. So the guidelines define, Chris, go back one more. The guidelines defined what a close contact is. So a close contact is someone being 6 feet or more, or 6 feet or closer from an infected person for at least 15 cumulative minutes in a 24-hour period. So it could be 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes there, but within close context, and that is with or without a mask. And then the chart on the following page will show how many days kids need to quarantine, or staff. So if they test positive, they must stay home for 10 days from the date of the test onset, but they also have to be symptom-free, so it could be longer depending on your student, your child, and their symptoms. Now, if someone in your child's household were to test positive, they are required to stay home for 24 days. This is because most likely, if the data shows that most likely if someone in your family has it, somebody else in your family is going to get it. So we have to be very cautious and weigh out and watch for symptoms as if someone in your family has it. So that's why the 24-day mark is there. If someone in your child has been in close contact with test positive, we're asking for 14 days of quarantine. So it's 10 days if you get it, it's 24 days if someone in your family gets it, and it's 14 days if someone comes in contact with somebody who has a positive case. So a question that came up was sick days. So just as in the past, a sick day is a sick day. So if your student is feeling ill, even if they're in school or they're virtual, they should stay home and rest. They can't be at their best when they're sick. They can't learn. It's not easy learning. They're tired. They're worn out. So if they're sick, they should rest. Parents should call the school office if a student's sick by 8 a.m., even if they're a virtual learner, so that we can let the teacher know. We're asking parents to clearly explain their symptoms, because we are going to be tracking symptoms for our students to work with the health department on that. If we have face-to-face learners who are sick, they're not able to utilize virtual learning on their sick days. Like I said, they should stay home and rest. They will not have technology or materials needed to engage in virtual learning. However, we talked as a leadership team, and we have decided that if a student is at home for a couple of symptoms but is healthy enough to do work, we need 48 hours advance notice to make a transition to them to do a virtual learning. So if your child has been sick for 2 consecutive days, but they're just kind of on the mend and they can still do work, contact me and we will start some virtual learning for them. We'll make a plan for them within 48 hours to be able to let them learn at home. So Mass and outreach. So we at St. Joseph Parish School, Mass is part of our identity. And we are going to continue to provide a Mass opportunity for our students. We're working closely with Father Pat. He is the one that does our school Masses to figure out what is the best system for him, for all involved. First, we're thinking about doing maybe cohorts, small groups. If we do decide to go into the church, it will only be our school students. We will not have any outside community participants join us during our school Masses for the foreseeable future. In addition, outreach, we will not be doing any outside outreach at this time, but we will find outreach opportunities within our classrooms to do things this school year. So for snack and lunch and recess, at snack time, we're going to have all our morning and afternoon snacks in the classroom, like we always do. Unfortunately, for now, no birthday treats can be allowed because we do not want to have any shared food or kids passing out anything shared. So no sharing of snacks as well. And we're going to have our students properly wash their hands before eating their snacks. So sanitizer is available, but we want to do a thorough hand washing before we're eating. At lunchtime, we're going to do the same thing, a very thorough hand washing before eating lunch. We're going to utilize social distancing. So if we have groups of cohorts in Doherty Hall, so K3, K4, K5, first grade, they'll all be in Doherty Hall together, but they'll be in separate areas of Doherty Hall. We plan to utilize the fish fry tables so that we have a lot more tables and more space, and spread them out so they're not coming in contact with the other cohorts. We are at this time allowing hot lunch. We will socially distance our students when they gather food from the lunch line. What it looks like right now, we're still working with our lunch program to determine what that lunch looks like. We're not going to allow any sort of shared food or drink during our lunch period. At recess, we have added an extra recess, as I stated earlier, so that we can have our cohorts, less kids on the playground, so we can have them move from zone to zone. We are going to use the playground structure as one of those zones. And one of the questions came through in the questionnaire on the Google form asking about cleaning of playground structures. The health department says that we do not have to, they do not require us or in any need to actually disinfect or sanitize the play structure because it is outside in the elements, and we're not concerned with the contact, the physical contact coming into our bodies from touching of the surfaces. So we will have the students thoroughly, when they go out to recess, we'll hand sanitize, but when we come back, we're going to thoroughly wash our hands. Students will not be required to wear face masks during recess, so when they're outside, they do not have to have them on. One thing I forgot to mention, between lunch periods, we will have thoroughly clean and disinfect, sanitize the tables. So when one cohort leaves, we have some time in between before the next group arrives that will be washing down all the tables in between each cohort. So right now, visitors, assemblies, and field trips, we are asking no visitors to the building at this time. So if a student does need to leave early, they should call the school office. They should remain in their car, and their student will be escorted out of the building for them with Mrs. Hankey or myself. When we do allow visitors into the building, they must wear face coverings and they must adhere to social distancing guidelines. At this time, we're not going to do any all in-person, school in-person assemblies. We might do things virtually if we wanted to do a big group together, but nothing in person. Right now, we're not going to have any field trips outside the building, so we have decided to halt our field trip fee. If in the event we can pick up throughout the school year and do field trips, we'll assess fees at that time. In addition, someone asked about Family Fun Night. The Catholic Comeback Plan has been reevaluated today or recently, and right now we are not allowed, we're still in phase 1, and we're not allowed to have big gatherings of people. So unfortunately, we have to cancel our Family Fun Night. It doesn't mean it can't happen later in the school year, in the spring, as some sort of other form, but right now we have to cancel our Family Fun Night. In addition, another question had to do with volunteer commitments. We are working to modify our volunteer opportunity commitments. We are a school that runs on fabulous volunteers. We need your volunteer help to do a lot of the things. It's part of our mission. So there will be opportunities for people to volunteer in a virtual sort of way, distance way, that will be modified and sent out at a later time. Arrival, we are asking that students arrive and students only exit their vehicle. So when you arrive, you can drop off in the drop-off circle under the canopy, and then the students will join their class in the line on the playground. Every student will have a line, and we're asking everyone to wear a mask during that time. Until further notice, we cannot play on the playground in the morning because there are too many groups of students out at the same time as they come off the buses and things like that. So we're going to wait in our lines. So in order to avoid having to wait too long, we're asking if you can arrive early, or arrive at 8:15, like exactly when school starts, or as close to it as possible. That is an ideal situation. But supervision will begin at 8 because that is when the bus drops off. In the event of rain, students will report directly to their classroom under the direction of the staff member who is outside. Dismissal. So same kind of procedure as arrival. We're going to have our dismissal take place through the car pickup line, and we ask parents to remain in their vehicle unless they need to dip out and buckle in a small child for just a moment. Students will exit the building with their class, led by their teacher, and each class will line up in a designated area on the coned-in area of the blacktop. All families will receive a name sign to be posted in their windshield so that we can quickly identify who is coming. So we'll have 2 dismissal options. Students can be walked to the bus, and we're going to kind of change our bus protocol a little bit to adhere to social distancing, where the bus is picking up and how we're getting out to the bus. And in addition, students will be dismissed by their teacher when their car arrives. So as stated in the intro letter, we're going to start with a staggered start. We all feel that this is the best opportunity to get everyone used to the many changes that will take place and work through our systems, is to have a staggered start. So we're saying that for K-3, 5 students will start every day for the first 3 days of school, and Ms. Putzer will send out a sign-up genius when it gets closer to sign up for which day. Our K-4 through 8th grade, we're going to have half of the face-to-face learners come on Wednesday, half come on Thursday, and then everyone come on Friday. Those are considered school days. They're part of our school calendar, so they're required for students to attend just as any other school day. Once we have all the virtual learners signed up, then we will determine which day your students will start on, Monday or Wednesday or Thursday. And in addition, we're going to try to keep siblings together so that they're all coming on the same day. Scheduling. So scheduling is something that is critical to make all of this happen. So we're going to develop a daily schedule so it allows for continuity of learning. When it comes to specials, we have determined that we want our students to be moving. We think it is very healthy for them to be able to move throughout the building, get out of their classroom, go to the space that has all the supplies and materials needed. So they will move to their specialist classes in almost every case. Social distancing is going to take place during those classes where feasible, so that 3 to 6 feet away from each other as much as possible. We're not going to be mixing our cohorts together for specials. And the specialist teacher will properly clean and sanitize their tables between their classes. So our scheduling has made time for each specialist to be able to do that. In addition, we're going to have a block schedule for our middle school students. So they're in their classrooms longer so they don't have to transition as much. So maybe a math class lined up by a science class, so they're in the same room but 2 different subjects, and the schedule will go out later when it has been finalized. We're also going to have limited access to our lockers, so pretty much keeping our backpacks and coats in there. Most things will be in the classroom, in their desks, and in their space where they need them, and then stagger students when they're going out to the lockers when need be. We're also developing movement schedules so that cohorts are not coming together so often or at all, actually, so they're not butting up against each other. One of the questions came from the questionnaire about PE, gym, and music class. Gym and music is part of our curriculum. Our specials are incredibly important to our overall learning experience at St. Joseph Parish School. So we are committed to Spanish, art, music, and PE. And so we have all of our students will participate in that, either if it's a virtual option or if it's a face-to-face option. Mr. Smith has been working with the other teachers, many other teachers in the surrounding schools to determine what music class is going to look like so we can protect all our students. So he will develop a plan for what music class looks like. I know many people are concerned about singing. What if they sing, if they don't, more will be determined about that once we have more information from the health department. But right now, I think Mr. Smith is planning to do things in the curriculum that do not require singing for the foreseeable future. So instrument playing, a lot of other fun things to do in music class. Phyed physical education class, is going to occur outside whenever possible. And we're not going to require face masks when they're outside and physically exerting themselves. The activities will align with our PE standards, but they will allow for social distancing, so we won't be doing things where the kids are coming in close contact with each other for this foreseeable future. We have also closed off the locker rooms for now, so no changing in between classes, no need to change for PE, but however, middle schoolers will be given a little perk. I know my son was excited when he heard this. They can wear their spirit wear on top and some athletic pants or shorts on the bottom in lieu of their uniform on their PE days, as long as they adhere to our uniform guidelines. We will have limited shared equipment. If there is any shared equipment amongst students or cohorts, they'll be sanitized between use. Early childhood. So we recognize that early childhood is different than elementary education. Learning is facilitated through play, exploration, socialization. That is the key to our curriculum, is play-based learning, and so we are not going to adhere to the enforcement of our social distancing, so our children will be playing together in our early childhood program. However, we're going to practice diligent hand washing, and proper protective behaviors, teaching our students all of those things in order to try to keep them healthy. Masks will be worn for K4 and K5 diligently to the best of their abilities with guidance from their teacher. As stated earlier, a K3, same thing. As we said earlier, they're going to be wear masks in public spaces, bathrooms, hallways, and requested by their teacher. We're going to consistently clean and sanitize any shared objects or any shared toys. I know that the teachers are developing different bins so that they can rotate their bins so kids aren't using the same toys all the time. And in addition, if you choose virtual learning for your early childhood child, it will be under different digital multiple formats determined by the teacher, Seesaw, Blooms. Same thing goes for distance learning. If we have to move back, we will have a format for them for when we move back to distance learning that is suitable for their age. Busing. So we are going to work with the Grafton Public School and Right Way Busing to help our kids stay healthy and safe on the bus. So the bus company is requiring all students to wear face masks on the bus at all times. They're going to have siblings sit together in the same row on the bus. When possible, they're going to put their windows down to help with circulation. They're going to encourage their kids to have hand sanitizer before they board the bus. They're going to load the bus from back to front and unload from front to back and clean and disinfect as often as they can. Mrs. Hankey was saying that she had contacted the bus company just recently, and they're asking for a very clear number of who is riding the bus, and this will go out in future communication. But if you do know your child is not going to be riding the bus, it would be very important to call the office and let her know so that she can relay that to Right Way. So if your child is not riding the bus, you're choosing not to ride the bus this year, please contact Mrs. Hankey. Extended care. So we're going to continue to offer extended care from 6:30 to 8:15 in the morning, as well as 3:15 to 6 p.m. in the evening. And we are treating this as a separate entity from our school, just as a regular daycare. We have many families that come from daycare in the morning to our facility, so we're treating it kind of like that. The protocols we're following are in line with the local daycares. And here's what we are going to implement. We added the Air Oasis needlepoint air purifiers in there to clean and sanitize the air. We're going to have our students wash their hands or sanitize upon entering extended care and before eating. We're going to try to practice physical distancing and cohorting when feasible. Let's try to keep groups together. Staff will be wearing masks, and students will follow the same rule for masks as they do during the day. Each room in extended care will be sanitized at night and increase their cleaning throughout when the students are present. And extended care is going to be open on non-school days as well, but we'll have a limited capacity based on first come, first serve, and that will be relayed at another time once we have a non-school day come up. When it comes to arrival, we're asking no parents enter the building. So please ring the doorbell, and the staff will welcome your child in. On departure, ring the doorbell. The staff will get your child ready for you and open the door to let them out when they leave. And the staff member will sign your child in and out for extended care. Athletics and extracurriculars. The Archdiocese has made the difficult decision to cancel athletics for the fall. In October, they'll make decision about winter sports, and then later in the year regarding spring sports. If you have any questions about athletics, please contact Brian Morgan. His email address is right there. In addition, we're still waiting on guidance from the Archdiocese regarding extracurriculars. We're not going to start the school year off with any immediately, but if more information comes out and we can start adding extracurriculars, we will. If we can do them virtually, that might be an option as well. So before I do the closing, I would like to address some of the other questions that came up in the Google form that could not be answered in the presentation. So there was a question about assessment and students lagging behind. So we recognize as educators that students may be lagging behind in certain academic areas. So what we plan to do is to assess early on, right away at the beginning of the school year, all of our students, and then determine their learning plan at that time, so right away at the beginning of the school year, and then address those learning gaps by reteaching material if necessary. So we are highly aware of possible learning gaps based on the COVID situation and distance learning, and then summer learning gap, which happens naturally as it is. So we will do everything that we can to reteach material if necessary for our students. Another question came up about uniforms and the need for uniforms this year. So as a leadership team, we have made the decision that for the first 2 weeks, we'll have students choose if they wish to wear their uniforms to school. And then we are going to send out a survey to our families to determine if they feel they want to continue to wear uniforms the rest of the school year. We're not saying we're getting rid of them forever. We're just saying for this school year, based on the situation that's happening and occurring, financial situations, or just feeling comfortable and a lot of different things going on, we're making them optional for the first 2 weeks, and then we'll reevaluate at that time. We understand that many parents already have their uniforms purchased. They may absolutely wear their uniforms. We also have a uniform store right downstairs with any size uniform you could possibly imagine. For every item is $1. And in addition, if families are needing uniforms, we just have to contact the school office and set up a time to come and grab uniforms. There are more uniforms in that closet than we will ever use. The final question that came up is how are the staff feeling about this change and all these new protocols? And just like everyone here, all the families, there is a sense of uncertainty in a very uncertain time. There's a variety of feelings and emotions at this time, and we recognize that they all want to be here and support your child, but we're going to have to work through this together and be a team. So a team as a staff and a team as a school family to help each other through this uncertain time in education. There's lots of mixed emotions everywhere you turn. So another question was asked, how can parents help? So how can you help? Be positive, be flexible, collaborate with your teacher, put on a smiling face every single day for our lovies, our students who we love so much, and just encourage them, encourage our teachers the best you can, because we are family and we will get through this together. So now I will take questions from our leadership team that were posted in the chat. Well, I think we did a good job because there's only 2. All right, good job, team. All right, so if the whole class is quarantined, oh yeah, I was going to address this, thank you. If the whole class is quarantined, will the students have virtual learning? Will the kids register for virtual learning, continue to do so, or is the whole class suspended for 14 days? So if the whole class is quarantined, the students will have virtual learning. So if a second grade gets quarantined, they will have virtual learning. Will the kids register for virtual learning, continue to do so? Yes, everybody will have virtual learning if the class is quarantined. If we have enrolled our kid for full day of school, can we have it changed to half day of virtual? That is an excellent question. We have not made any accommodations for half day versus full day. Right now, we need to stick with our plan of either full day virtual or full day in person. What was that? Yeah, depending on grade. Okay, does that so if you are signed up for full day, then you will stay in school full day if you're in person. If you're signed up for half day, then you'll stay in school half day in person. Is that clear?
They want to change though. I think the question is, can they change?
Can you change now? If we have enrolled in our K for full day, you could change to virtual, or you could. I'm confused.
I think, like if they're a half day, a full day K4, can they change to half day K4?
If you're a full day K4, you may absolutely change to half day K4 just to call the school office. If that's what yeah, okay.
If that's not the answer.
If that's not the answer, call the school office. Anything else? One more? Oh, here comes another one. Are we required to wear a uniform for virtual learning? We would love that, to wear a shirt, a uniform shirt on top. At this time, we're not going to require it, but when we do the survey of uniforms and determine what our families are feeling this year, we will make that call at that time. Anything else? All right, so I understand that there will probably still be more questions as you think about them or as you go through this. So we will keep that Google form open for a while, and what the leadership team and I will do is we will look at it every week, and we will answer any additional questions from that form in our weekly Lancer times. So that's how we're going to do any further questioning. If you have very, very specific questions related to your family, please call the school office. So we,
There is one more that came in.
Okay, one more.
It just says, how do we know if the kindergarten classes have virtual sessions, and how many hours of virtual session will there be for kindergarten?
Each class will have a different schedule for virtual sessions for early childhood. Actually, every class will have a schedule. So the teacher will send out your schedule at the beginning of the school year to determine when your students need to meet online versus independent work. Okay, so we recognize there's risk in everything that we do here. So even with the measures that our school is taking, there's no guarantee that we will not experience a shutdown. And we know that although we are putting these practices in place, it does not guarantee we are a COVID-free zone. So students and faculty, they assume the risk of contacting COVID-19 if they return to school or work. But we respect the decisions of our families to choose virtual or face-to-face and to do what is best for you or your family at this time. But be assured that we are going to work with you to make this a successful year for our students. Thank you so much for partnering with us in your child's education. Thank you for being with me tonight. Remember, this is recorded, so you can go back and look at it. And we wish you all the best, and we're looking forward to a successful 2021 school year. Good night, everyone.